going to have to deal with, and to talk about these Jacksonville Jaguars that the Titans are going to have to deal with at some point. So we get a Inside Florida report coming up soon. Coach Mack in the second hour to talk Titans. But this was a number I saw from Channel 5 yesterday. This is, if you run an organization, this is a really good number for you. The Titans on TV got a 29.4 rating, which is the biggest rating they've gotten in 10 years. The opener got a 25.2. That was the highest number for a season opener in 6 years. I mean, if you want to know what people are interested in, just look at TV numbers because they're always put out there. Now, with radio, you don't always see that stuff. But with TV, numbers can just go out all the time. Yeah. So 29.4 rating for the Tennessee Titans. That was a lot of people watching that game. And the amazing thing is, after you laid the egg in the first week, people were like, I'm still going to give them another chance. And boy, did they give them another chance.
They went all in now. I want to see how they respond to the egg that they laid. Mm-hmm.
Well, they really laid defensively. The egg kind of poked out again. It looked like another egg was about to come out before they battened down the hatches in the second quarter.
Well, second half, really.
Yeah. Oh, second half. Third quarter. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, the fourth quarter, they had three and out. So, yeah. And then Tannehill and old King Henry, with the offensive line, of course, stepped up to the plate and played huge. So, exciting, yeah. But I'm not surprised. The NFL's a big brand and product that everybody loves, and curious to see how this season starts out. Those first games are always fluky. I told you, they always make me nervous every year.
Yep.
Because you just don't know, and it doesn't give you a telltale of what each team is. So you always see some surprising upsets. Not to say that Arizona beating the Titans was an upset. It was the way they beat them, though. And then you saw some crazy upsets in week 2. You thought he had it all figured out. The Saints, they're going to be great with Winston. Oop, no, not so much. He got beat by Sam Darnold. Yeah. I mean, so, that's how it goes, man. But he was horrible with Adam Gase. Now he's a genius now, right? Playing great. There you go. New scenery, man. Fresh new start. Carson Wentz got a fresh new start, but his new start caused him to be injured again.
Yeah, 2 sprained ankles, apparently. We were watching that on Sunday. We had just finished the pregame show, and we're watching the Colts. That game's on TV. He just kept not getting rid of the ball. He just kept taking hits needlessly. And on the
he was doing a good job being a quarterback, by the way.
I thought he was.
I watched the first game, too. I thought he looked solid. No, besides holding on to the ball sometimes, trying to be the hero, and then ends up being the zero. I mean, that time he got sacked by Darnold, he should have got rid of the ball or just taken the sack. Just take it. This is why Peyton Manning didn't get injured very much.
Right.
He knew when to say, no mas.
Play's over.
Yeah, I lost this play. They beat us. They beat me.
Tom Brady, 44 years old. Why? Hey, man, I'm not getting hit by any of these dudes.
I mean, he threw a pass. He tried to flip it over his shoulder backwards while he's falling down. Why?
Yeah.
He might have even changed to his left hand. I'm not sure. That's how you get all tangled up like that and get your foot and ankle all twisted under.
Both ankles.
Go down.
He had already had a shovel pass intercepted where he was getting tackled and tried to shovel.
And that was his worst play.
Yeah.
The shovel play. You know what? I'll take that. If I'm the head coach and that's my quarterback, I'll take the shovel pass. Oh, that's his only bad play. Then he compounded that with that throw over the shoulder, and now you hurt your ankles. And it was funny, man, because he sat there and says, I can't go. He tried to jog. They retaped it.
Well, you're our show director of content as well as the show's lip reader, and we were watching it. And you just said, look at him. He just said, I can't go.
And that is the worst feeling because most players can't say it.
He said it.
Yeah, they cannot. And you could tell he threw his helmet. He knew it was bad. Like, I know I cannot come back in this game. And really, he basically, the game was over then because Easton, a young quarterback coming off the bench is way different than a veteran guy. He came in, threw a pick, game over.
We were having this discussion in the green room. Some of the best radio that happens here, none of us are near a microphone. You, Rhett Bryan, Brett Batchelor, we were all kind of hanging out in the green room talking, and you brought up the point about Easton. It's like he just came in cold off the bench and threw an interception. He's got a whole week to get ready now. They got a whole week to get him ready, and you pointed out he had some nice moments in the preseason.
When he knew he was a starter. And then Rhett gave us a stat that he had, pretty much done almost all the snaps went out.
Yep.
I mean, after that first week of practice. And he looked good in the preseason. And they got him involved early. What did they do? How do you get the quarterback involved, make him comfortable, get into a rhythm? Sharp passing game early. Boom, 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 boom. I was like, whoa. He looked pretty good. He looked better than his father. Yeah. He said he didn't have a neck roll.
Jacob Eason.
Yeah. Big arm, though. And he was getting
6'6", 231. Yeah. And the arm that goes with everything with the rest of those numbers.
I think with a week of practice, the fans better not sleep on this youngster that, oh, no, Wentz is out. We got him. No can do. Do not do that. Don't be ding-dongs either on the Titan side and try to blitz him every play and show how tough he is. If he doesn't have the ball, guess what? Doesn't matter.
Aren't they honoring Bum Phillips on Sunday, too, for the Ring of Honor?
Oh, they are.
Remember last time they did a Ring of Honor celebration before the game facing a Colts backup quarterback?
Do not tell me that's true.
It was Eddie and Steve. Field caught fire. Jacoby Brissett beat the Titans.
Come on, man.
See, you just tried to ruin my day. That's what you just did.
You're supposed to lift us up.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to just come in and
with
go,
your
womp,
nice
womp.
smiley face.
Your whole point is people calling it an easy win if it's Eason at quarterback. I'm just saying. Let's remember.
Good. Yeah, that's a great stat there. Man, wow. Great recall.
The
recall about the fire, though, was really the big talk.
That was insane.
It burned the grass.
Yeah, man. That was crazy. Now, here's the thing I worry about.
Maybe we need to do that to make sure they can come out there and run with their butts on fire. Hey, man, whatever you got to do.
Whatever it takes. In talking to Lofa Tatupu and looking at everything the Colts did week one against the Seahawks, they just abandoned the run. Mm-hmm. Well, the one thing they did have success with, they threw 12 completions to Taylor and Hines, the two running backs. Because we were talking about this last week. They had good success throwing to backs. Now, the Titans gave up, 131 yards on two pass plays, so they're susceptible to the big play. But that nickel and dime thing, that's the thing that worries me about the Colts, even with Eason's big arm, is Nyheim Hines, Taylor, and them just, okay, we'll just dump it.
Well, they were playing some zone, and they just say, take what you're giving.
Yeah.
That's what happens. Most of these quarterbacks get greedy, and they want more than that, and they're impatient, and they go, no, I can squeeze it in here. That's when you make a mistake. So that's off to the Colts. And it's always going to be a tough game against the Colts. It's a divisional game. It counts as two. When I say it counts as two, that means two games because you win, you move up, really two games. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, this is, you got to think this is the Colts. They know us. We know them. It's going to be a close game, and you can't, give up impactful plays, those 3 long plays. You cannot do that on defense and win a game. It's surprising that they even won the game with giving that up. Can't, have penalties on special team. Got to clean a lot of things up. Very fortunate to steal that win against the Seahawks, but you did, and you earned it. So let's clean those things up. I think you got a great shot of beating the Colts. Yeah. Got to get them. Got to get them down when they down, man. Whew.
Titans have won 2 of 3 against the Colts, 2 of the last 3. They lost 3 in a row before that. Derrick Henry has gone 100 yards plus in the last 3 games. The Colts did go, and this is something that you keep bringing up. Colts played good against the Rams. They could have won that game.
It took them to the end.
To the very end.
To Jalen Ramsey. Intercepted the ball.
Yeah.
Oh, he's from here.
Yeah,
I wanted them to draft him so bad. I would have traded 2 picks to move up because he went like 5th pick, right, or somewhere up there. And I think the Titans were like 10 or 8, or they had no shot of getting him.
It was early, but
oh man,
my gosh,
I know he would have loved that. Yeah, I don't know if they would have loved paying him, but instead we got Jack Rabbit and Christian Fulton, who are balling. Christian Fulton is balling for sure. Man, he done stepped up his game. I'm excited to see if he can continue this and grow. You don't understand what kind of confidence that he's got now, and he's going to get better. Man, that does a lot for a young player.
Some people, Pro Football Focus attributed him. John Glennon just went on the stat tweeting spree yesterday that it was just one gold after another tweet. But one of the things was Fulton was basically unmesswithable for the whole game, but they gave him the coverage bust. They gave.
Remember, I said that's what I thought.
Yes, they gave it to him too.
Because he should have been running deep third. And the guy in the slot is not going to be running deep third. Now, you can, at times, in disguise, that's the guy, and that's how you get some players, some quarterbacks.
Right.
But in that one there, with them talking, it was Chris Jackson and him having a conversation. And that's happened before, and I told you why that happened. That happened with me and Samari in the I forgot what game it was. Is that here at home? And it was a new defense we put in, and we didn't run it against every formation. And so when I'm up there yelling out the call, he's not looking at me, and I'm going to do my job. I was supposed to come down. Yeah. He's supposed to be deep third, and he did not. Somebody going right by him. I said, "You better go catch him. I can't catch him. I'm not fast like that. You better go get him, man. Sick."
Didn't get him though.
No,
not
eventually got him.
Not like that. Hey, Fulton is.
So he got a blown coverage there.
He has the chance. And we've been asking this question, Gus, what are you going to do when the first round draft pick gets well? I don't know, because Fulton's playing pretty dang good.
Oh, no. There is no question. If he continues to play like this, Fulton will not be out there. No, you don't. It's just that's one-on-one, NFL coaching. The player that's hot, you keep him out there until he is not hot.
Right.
Mm-hmm. You do not. Then guess why you lose credibility as a coach? Did you put somebody else out there that's not proven, by the way? If he was proven, Farley and everything else, you can't just throw him out there because he's a first round. He has the talent, he has the upside, and all those things. No, stay with Fulton all the way till he has a bad day, and then you pull him out. Yeah, you don't do that. No.
At one point, though, when he is checking Metcalf, I thought, this guy did this every week in the SEC. Heck, he did it against that guy.
Yeah. That's why I said Ole Miss versus LSU. He wasn't scared. It was nothing. He's ready to go.
He's seen it all before.
You know what I love, though? He stayed calm.
Yeah.
Now, remember, Metcalf, I'm going to call this is what they in football terms, they said he tried to punk him.
Yep.
He tried to take his manhood and say, no, I'm bigger, stronger, and I'm going to throw you around like a rag doll, and I'm going to show you that I'm going to take control of you, and I'm going to put the fear in you. Still happens when you're a grown man in the National Football League. Yeah. And Fulton just kept holding on to him like, nope, you're holding, and that's a penalty. Yeah. And then he didn't get rattled. He didn't get mad.
Nope.
He went out and looked at him. Okay, we're gonna play this game. I'm going to keep coming. And he really actually won and got in Metcalf's head. And then Russell was like, I can't even go to you. I don't even know where you're going to be if you're going to be in the right spot. Yep. Matter of fact, you're on the wrong spot now because you're on the sideline. Yep. Over mad with your baby pacifier in. Come on, man. All right. Explain this to us, Lucas. You're a young guy. Why does he have I know it's like it's a mouthpiece. But what does that, look good? And by the way, the purple hair, what was that?
He said it was to keep him cool.
I don't know. I won't judge
They
the
talked
hair.
about it on the TV
Well,
broadcast.
he had red hair the last time I watched him.
Yeah, but they said it's cool. He stayed cool-headed. And he didn't because he was trying to.
That's why the pacifier was so great, because it was so just the way it was indicative of just the way he acted all day on the field. You're right. He was absolute. Fulton was in his head.
Yeah, he got him. He did exactly what he wanted him to do.
He won the battle and the war. He won both of them.
He won the mental battle. Ooh,
Sure did.
That's huge there, man.
Mark Long, Associated Press in Florida, covers the Gators, covers the Jags. I think he covers everything. He's going to join us next. We got lots to discuss. It's Blaine and Mickey, 104.5 The Zone.
Listening to Buck Rising will give you all the info you need on the Titans. And if you feel his opinion is wrong, he has a built-in excuse.
It's because I'm wearing long shorts today. My shorts come down to my knees. It's affecting my judgment. I can't be doing this.
The Buck Rising Show, tomorrow from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. on 104.5 The Zone.
Hey, man, I got good news and bad news, from your boss. It's like you get to cover the Florida Gators. You'd be like, dang, man, they're always pretty good. Like, that's a good beat. SEC, I love it. What's the bad news? Oh, man, you cover the Jags, too. Oh, shoot. Okay. Well, is there any? Nope, that's the good news and bad news. You get paid the same, but you get the Gators. You're also going to have to haul your heavy butt up to Jacksonville sometimes, cover that rambling railroad of dysfunction. Think about Urban Meyer. He takes that job, and I see Marcus calling in. We'll have him on in a minute, and I can start with this question for him. You take that job, then USC comes open. He could win at USC. He wins everywhere in college. Go out there and win. Man, the temperature's nice out there. He's telling his agent, how could you not have told me that this thing was this close to getting cut off in USC? How could you not have told me that? Because there's no way I'd be here and doing this.
The hard part, I think he could handle. I don't know if he can really handle losing, but you got to know that you're going to lose in the NFL.
Yep.
But I think it's the way the media ask him questions where, in college, they kind of skirt around questions. Are they really working for you in a sense because they want everybody to hear all the fluffy stuff? Where the NFL is not like that. The media is not going to do that. They're going to ask you the really good questions, and you got to be held accountable, and you got to be able to answer them. And I don't think he's prepared sometimes to think that he's going to get a tough question. Some of these tough questions. I think it throws him off like, huh? I know that USC would be an option for me. No, I'm here for good. I'm not going anywhere. Then he puts his hands in his pocket and he starts tapping his foot. And you go, I don't know if I trust this guy.
Mark Long is on with us now. We trust him because he works for the Associated Press. They know what they're doing. Mark, we've been having a lot of these discussions about Urban Meyer, and he gets asked about USC and his body language changes. I just think – I don't think he's going to leave and take the USC job. I think he's probably mad at his agent. Like, seriously, man, I could have been at USC now. What are we doing here? Come on, man.
Yeah, the funny thing is I've talked to people around the country, and I don't think he would be a candidate at USC. They've got a pretty strict background check, and from everybody I talked to, there was thoughts about Urban Meyer earlier at USC, and a lot of people believe he was not going to pass their background check with some of the things that he's been into with talking about players and hiding drug tests and this, that, and the other, and certainly what happened at Ohio State with his receivers coach, all those things. So I don't think he's going back to college. I don't think it'll be USC. I don't think it'll be anything. I think, the question remains, and, again, we're two games into this thing, but you're already asking the questions is, is he happy? Is it going to be a one and done? Is he going to see this thing through? How committed to the NFL is he? And a lot of people have concerns about that. Even despite him saying no chance about going to USC, people still wonder, whether or not he stays in Jacksonville and really makes this thing a 4 or 5 year project. I think the overwhelming concern would be that he's a one and done and walks away and either cites health or says this isn't what he wants or thought he was getting into. And it's a pretty big rebuild. There's no doubt about it. It's not going to happen in 1 year, probably not going to happen in 2 years. And a lot of people really, really thinking now that Urban Meyer won't be around to see Jacksonville get this thing somewhat turned around.
Wow, Mark Long with a strong opening statement here on Blaine and Mickey.
Oh, yeah, I guess we have to jump over here to Florida. And, man, how surprised were you that they really took it to Bama? And, I mean, they took it. They believe they can beat Bama. They just keep coming up sharp, man. I mean, was that a little surprising how they were stopping the running game?
I was probably one of the few people who thought Florida had a chance, and not just a puncher's chance. I actually thought they had a chance, and partly because I'd watched Alabama the first 2 games and wasn't all that impressed, and we had gotten to see that Miami was a little bit of a fraud. So I had a belief that Florida would keep it close and maybe have a shot, and mostly because of the swamp. We knew the thing was going to be electric. So you got Bryce Young coming in on his first career road start, was going to be in an environment that we saw Joe Burrow turn the ball over 3 times. in 2018, playing there. We saw Bo Nix really struggle with 3 interceptions in 2019 there. So, it's a place that is pretty raucous and can be a hard time for opposing quarterbacks, especially young ones who haven't played on the road. So I thought Florida keep it close. What surprised me, 2 things. Surprised me that Alabama jumped out on them 21-3 like they did. And then it really surprised me that Florida flipped the switch and got the thing turned around in the second quarter with all those 3 and outs. And then in the third and fourth quarter with some pretty impressive drives, a 99-yarder and then a 75-yarder to give them a chance to tie it. So from that standpoint, Florida was impressive. I think what probably shocked me more than anything was they did it without Anthony Richardson. I mean, that kid's dynamic. He's been unbelievable in the first 2 weeks of the season. And for them to do what they did and push Alabama to the limits and do it without basically their most dynamic player, that part was absolutely stunning, absolutely shocking.
Well, with Mark Long. And, man, Mark, I'm glad you brought that up because if Richardson is healthy, how much do you think he plays against Tennessee?
I think they probably a 50-50 split. Oh. I think that's what – if he would have been healthy, I think they would have been about a 50-50 split, depending on, who has the hot hand or this, that, and the other. But I don't think there's any question that Dan Mullen is moving away from Anthony Richardson coming in every third series because that's kind of been his plan. And he might keep that plan now with him coming back from a hamstring injury. But I think Dan Mullen sees what everybody else sees, that this kid is dynamic. This kid's got that it factor. He's different than everybody else. He's much more, Cam Newton type-esque. And I think Dan Mullen realizes he's got to get him on the field, and he's going to be a part of their offense and a big part of their offense later this season and certainly moving on after this year.
Man, what were your thoughts on the 2-point play call?
Yeah, it was an interesting call. That's what I mean. You're running it down their throat. You run the ball in Alabama like nobody's run the ball in Alabama in years. And so to call a running play there and needing 3 yards, I don't have a problem with that. It was just a botched call. So you wonder why somebody didn't see it from the sideline and call it in. But I think what we're gathering now is the running back lined up on the wrong side of the ball or the wrong side of the quarterback, and then the tight end was supposed to pull, and the tight end never pulled. So all of a sudden you just got a completely botched play where you don't have a tight end coming down to crack back against that defensive end, and you got the running back on the wrong side, so you throws off the running back, throws off the quarterback, throws off the exchange, and then you don't have the proper blocking set up. So it was really doomed. There was a hole there. There's, you look at the internet nowadays, Twitter, there's a picture going around that shows an aerial view, and there's a hole there to run. They just couldn't get it going and couldn't figure out where they wanted to hand the ball off and who wanted to take the ball and where they were headed. And that's the kind of thing that you can't do against Alabama. If you're going to beat Alabama, you need to be as perfect as you can be. And Florida was far from perfect and probably lucky to have a shot like that, given the number of mistakes that Florida made.
Yeah, Florida made a lot of mistakes, but man, some of those PIs, pass interference calls, I don't know about that. What would you think about that, Mark?
Yeah, that's the one that all of Florida Gator Nation is up in arms. Saturday, Sunday, even yesterday, and Dan Mullen refused to talk about them. He doesn't want to get fined. He likes his money. But I think he sent a few of them to the league office and said, okay, you got to look at this and tell me what you're seeing here, because this ticky-tack stuff, that's not the way to call a game. Pretty ridiculous. I think everybody agrees that there were at least 2 that were pretty suspect. One was completely blatant. And, I don't know what Dan Mullen will hear. Maybe one day he'll tell us, but I doubt he's going to delve too far into that right now.
We're on with AP Mark Long, who covers Florida as well as the Jags.
It's interesting. Mullen has really flipped the identity of this team on offense. They go from a top pass offense, at least for a couple of weeks now, to one of the top run offenses in the country.
Yeah, it's a remarkable transformation, and not many teams do it. Certainly not like this, where you're flipping a switch and going from – they were the best passing team in the country last year, number 1 in the country, with Kyle Trask, Heisman Trophy finalist, Kyle Pitts, matchup nightmare, and Kadarius Toney, a guy with, more wiggle than anybody we've seen in Gainesville since Percy Harvin. So those three guys, Dan Mullen engineered his offense around those three, and they threw the ball for like 380 yards a game last year. So it was something to watch. It was historic, unprecedented in Gainesville. Only one team in Florida history had ever been better at throwing the ball last year, and that was Steve Spurrier's last one in 2001 with Rex Grossman, a Heisman Trophy runner-up, and that team probably should have played for a national title. They were that good, and they didn't. But, that team last year was unbelievable throwing the ball, and Dan Mullen lost all three of his big three, and basically said, okay, what do we got? Well, we got two quarterbacks who are dual threat guys and can run the ball. We got three returning offensive linemen who are a bit of maulers, and then you got three running backs who have been in the system, all fourth or fifth year guys. So what they did was they said, okay, we're going to be a running team, and that's what they've gone. And they've gone from now being this this aerial attack to this ground and pound. And so now they're averaging, they rank second in the country, only behind Michigan in rushing yards, and they dropped, darn near 250 on Alabama and averaged almost 6 yards a carry against Alabama. Numbers that, nobody's done against Alabama since Ezekiel Elliott in Ohio State in the 2014 semifinal game, in January of 2015 in the Sugar Bowl. And that included an 85-yard run by Zeke Late that basically put the game away. Florida didn't have anything like that. It wasn't like Florida had 2 or 3 60 or 70 yards run. Florida's longest run from scrimmage was 30 yards. So, Florida drops 250 on them with the longest run being 30. They're doing a lot of damage, a lot of big runs, not these, eye-popping huge runs, but a lot of gashers and 10 and 12 and 15-yard runs, and you add those up over the course of three and a half hours, and all of a sudden it was, it's almost a historic number against a Nick Saban defense. So Florida can run it. That's what they're going to do. It's a testament to Dan Mullen that they've been able to flip the switch like this and switch from a passing offense to a running offense. It takes a lot of confidence on your coaches and a lot of buy-in from your players, and he got both, and they've been able to do it. And it's, you talk to Dan Mullen, and he'll say, and he said it yesterday, he said, it's 20 years in the making. He learned a hard lesson in 2005. He came to Florida as Urban Meyer's offensive coordinator, and he tried to take Chris Leak and make him Alex Smith. And they had had Alex Smith the previous 2 years in Utah, and Alex Smith was a perfect spread option quarterback. And they thought, well, we got better talent in Florida, and we got this great offense, and we'll just do the same thing. And no, it was a square peg in a round hole, and Chris Leak was in over his head. And so it took them a couple of bad losses in half the season to figure that out and sit down at the bye week, and they revamped everything. They scrapped all the 4 and 5 receiver sets, scrapped all the quarterback runs, brought in a fullback, a walk-on, and basically said, we're going to have to play a little ground and pound here. And that was a eye-opening for Dan Mullen, and it's carried him for the last 16 years. It's really carried him. Hey, you better, in this league, and really anywhere, you better be able to play to your personnel or you're not going to get it done. And so last year, he's got the personnel to be a big-time passing team, number 1 in the country, and this year they're a ground and pound power running team, and they're number 2 in the country running it.
You're in the same neck of the woods, fairly close by where you are to UCF. You saw Josh Heupel get the job at Tennessee. We're a couple games in right now. Obviously, that's a guy that you would have known your cohorts, and you would have covered some for the Associated Press there. Do you look at Josh Heupel and think, yeah, great job, Tennessee. This is the guy to make these Florida-Tennessee games a rivalry and more for Tennessee again?
Yeah, you hope. I think everybody wants that to get back to where it was. Everybody that's maybe not a Florida fan, I think Florida fans like it is right now and pretty one-sided. But I think if you love college football and you love the SEC and the history, I think you got to get Florida, Tennessee, Alabama, Florida, Georgia, Tennessee. You got to get them all right, back to where they were. And, I want to think Heupel's the guy to get it done. I want to think that he's going to come down to Florida and he's got these ties and they're going to be able to recruit and get the best players in the state and some of the best players from the state of Florida and make it work in Tennessee. I know Danny White, raves about Josh Heupel. Obviously, that was his guy the second that job came open, and they're gonna be able to throw the ball. They're gonna be able to hide some of their deficiencies early with up tempo. But I think it really comes down to, and you guys have seen this a million times, it comes down to can you get the right quarterback? That's where we are in football. It's where we've been for years. But if you don't have the right guy, the right trigger man, the right guy, throwing the ball, delivering the ball, making those decisions, you're doomed. And I'm not sure if Tennessee has that guy yet. And to me, for Heupel to be successful, he's got to be able to go get that guy.
Mark Long, AP Mark Long on Twitter, joining us here on Blaine and Mickey, talking all things Florida football.
Well, AP Mark Long, I just got a couple more questions. One of them is, do you think there could be a little bit of a hangover after playing Bama, and maybe Florida gets off to a slow start until they get over the physicality of the Bama game?
No question. I think that's a huge concern. Dan Mullen addressed it yesterday, that you can't let one loss become two. You can't you can't have all this big build up for Alabama, the defending national champs, number one in the country, the first time they've been in the swamp in a decade. Everybody gets up for that. And then there's probably a little bit of a natural letdown afterwards. And he's going to work like hell, he said this week, to make sure his players don't act like that, and make sure, he wants to do whatever to help the fan base do the same. He said yesterday he would grab a mic and sing and dance if it meant packing the swamp like they had for Alabama again, because it makes a big difference. So they're on alert. That they understand that it happens. There's certainly a fatigue factor after playing Alabama, a beat up factor, whatever you want to call it, a letdown factor. I mean, we saw obviously Miami week 1 gets pummeled by Alabama, and then darn near loses the next week, and then does lose in week 3. So it happens. It's happened to other teams. It happened to Florida last year. They got beat by Alabama in the bowl game, in the SEC title game, and then turned around and lost the bowl game. And that was a few weeks later. But they weren't ready for that game, and nobody was ready for that game. They had a lot of opt-outs or whatnot. But, it is definitely a realistic possibility, and something that I would think Florida's going to work all week to make sure everybody's aware of it.
Well, last I looked, I saw Florida, I think, is ranked 11. Is that right? Is they still 11?
Mm-hmm.
Still 11, yeah. They didn't move.
Does a lot of Florida fans, do they feel like they should be ranked higher? Just because how close they should have beat Bama? I mean, do they talk about this?
Yeah, I think they think they're a top 10 team based on what they did against Alabama. Now, you go talk to an Alabama fan, and they'll be like, listen, you played really well at home. Congratulations. We had one of our worst games offensively, defensively, couldn't tackle. They said they down some linebackers, dropped passes, missed opportunities, all that, and you still couldn't beat us. So, it's all your perception, right? Where you're coming at this thing from. I think Florida fans do believe that they played well enough to be a top 10 team, but I think anybody else who's watched them, I think you see there's some holes there. Florida's got holes. There's no question. But the reality of that is it'll play out. It's all going to play out. And if Florida can run the table and get to the Georgia game without another loss the rest of the way, then they're going to have a chance to win the East. That's why Dan Mullen basically admitted that's why he held out Richardson. I mean, you play Richardson, and that would have probably helped them against Alabama, but beating Alabama gets you nothing. You got to have Richardson for Tennessee. You got to have Richardson for Georgia. You better have Richardson for the rematch against Alabama, because those games are much more important than the first game against Alabama.
Mark, good stuff, man. We love catching up with you at AP Mark Long. People can follow you for all the latest on the Jaguars as well as the Florida Gators and more, covering everything down there in Florida for the Associated Press. Thank you.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
Mark Long. There's some Carson Wentz news out, including some audio and what he was doing today as far as health-wise. We'll let you know that. We got all the information next. Blaine and Mickey, 104.5 The Zone.
Take every Titans game with you.
Put your seatbelt on and let's do this thing. Let's do this thing is right.
Get every game by downloading the 104.5 The Zone app.
rent estate. That's a great term that my making a play. I'm
you
going to
talking about
throw my
in-game.
left hand backwards.
Yeah, well, they can't do that.
He says, Mike adds, Eason has an arm but no touch. So there's your quarterback scouting report from Mike in his own TV chat. I appreciate that.
I never second guess whenever we play the Colts. Remember Andrew Luck would come in here limping with 1.5 leg, and he just torch us.
Do you remember?
I was like, oh my gosh.
Do you
kidding me?
remember? Was it 4 years ago where the Colts came in at the end of the season? They had two quarterbacks that weren't even in the NFL anymore. They had the guy with the curly hair had played at Kansas State, Josh Johnson, who then played for the Buccaneers. Like he was a high draft pick.
Yeah, I remember Josh.
Remember that guy? And then he was completely out of the league before and after.
He came back.
And then
who was the other person?
And they had two. They had two guys I don't think ever played in the league again, and the Titans lost to those two guys that day, to the Colts. Is that
I remember
2016? Oh, we're gonna have somebody's gonna tweet us immediately and name the two guys. But anyway,
Oh,
I agree with you. The Colts have come in here with essentially just two guys off the street and beaten this team.
Yeah, in the Brissett years, it just they just seem like they find a way. So we've beat them. You said what? 2 of the last 3 times.
2 of the last 3, but
and
the
Derrick
Colts
Henry's
won the
gotten
previous
off
3.
almost
Yeah,
those
Derrick Henry in
games.
the last 3 games, even the one they lost last year was the Nyheim Hines game, which was his birthday.
Oh, that was here.
Yeah, and they tried to take him out at once, and he said, no. Remember that? No, don't take me out.
Yeah, because
And-
I
and
messed up the last game and they took him out. He got hot and they couldn't stop him running or catching.
Could not stop it.
He impacted the game. Yeah, now he's got a big, nice little contract, 3-year deal. Yeah, like $6 million a year or something.
So I'm a little bit nervous about those backs because they had success against the Seahawks. They had 12 receptions, the Colts 2 running backs between them. They each had 6 catches. Now, I think they each had 1 last week against the Rams. But those guys can hurt you. But what's going on with Carson Wentz? Here's Tom Pelissero, the NFL Network, with a full recap of Carson Wentz Day and what the Colts are looking at going forward. This just dropped by NFL Network right here.
Well, Mike, Carson Wentz wasn't just in a boot. He was riding around the team facility yesterday on a scooter. But as you said, he is going to test out those ankles on Wednesday, see how well he's able to move. Nobody has ruled him out at this point for Sunday's game against the Titans. If Wentz cannot go, then Indianapolis has a decision to make. They could go with Jacob Eason, who relieved Wentz this past Sunday. He's only thrown 5 NFL passes. Those came in that game on Sunday, including the interception. Or they could go to their practice squad where they have Brett Hundley. He made 9 starts for the Packers. It was way back in 2017, but a veteran quarterback who maybe can play to the defense and the running game. Those are the decisions that the Colts will have to sort through as this week goes on and as they get a better handle on Wentz's status.
So you got the young guy who's a big guy with every one of the tools, who played at a couple of big D1 schools in Easton, family pedigree, all that stuff. Or you got Hundley, who's, as Pelissero pointed out, it's been a minute, but he's got some NFL experience. He's gone out there and started 9 games, he said.
Well, I'd be shocked if they don't go with Eason. Yeah, I watched him in the preseason. I thought Reich did a really good job of getting him into rhythm with the short passing game. So that's kind of how they approach the Titans when they play them. Kind of the short passing game. Then they kind of hit them with the run slowly to get into a rhythm. And the quarterback, next thing now he's throwing curls. Now he's throwing out. Now he's throwing deep. So I think you got to approach this game. And that what will be the mindset of an NFL player. If you relax and think just because Jacob Eason is the starter, trust me, I lost to Ryan Leaf. And it wasn't because I relaxed. Yeah. He just was better than we thought he was. Yeah, it could be. Yeah, Oh, he's horrible. Well, guess what he does have? A big cannon. And he let that thing launch. And we were playing man-to-man, and that's what our stick was. And we got after the quarterback. And we let him back in the game, but let him throw deep balls. All he had to do, he got hit. He was on the ground, but the ball wasn't with him.
Oh.
Yeah. So this guy's got a big arm. You approach it just like you're approaching the offense. Now, there's certain things you want to say, let's test the waters a little bit, with Eason. See if we can rattle him early and make him get rid of the ball quicker and make him speed up his clock, make him make some mistakes. Those are the things you approach him with differently other than Wentz. But I think you still would probably approach Wentz that way because there's only 3 games in, even though he's looked fairly, in my mind, I know they haven't won a game, solid considering how he played last year. You can tell he looked comfortable. And as you said, they abandoned the run and they threw the ball over the yard. Just ran out of time. And then he got injured. So I would approach it that way. You still got to get after him a little bit early, though. See what he's got, and then you play him straight up like you were just approaching the Colts offense. Mm-hmm.
I do like that the Titans have been able to get pressure, and the big guys really got after the quarterback last week.
Just the front four, though, really a lot. Yeah.
And that's
great.
Boy.
Hey, they play like that. Archery showed up. Dupree was getting pressure, and, Big Jeff. Big Jeff always playing. And Landry.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, that's a formula front. And Landry dropped a few times. I was impressed with his coverage. Mm-hmm. And now they may switch it up. Maybe it'll be Dupree. Never know. They may switch up and have Archery or somebody, one of them zone blitz schemes. And Simmons, they throw it right to the big belly of Simmons. He takes that thing to the house, and you get to all see that this guy, every bit of runs about a 4.8. So you be like, what? Did you see him rolling? Yeah, I say, oh, man, I can't beat that guy. That guy fast.
All right, 2015, the Colts came in here.
Oh, you found it, didn't you?
Because that was going to drive me crazy.
I can't remember.
Josh Freeman and Ryan Lindley were the two quarterbacks.
Oh, Josh Freeman. Freeman was the big kid from Tampa Bay.
Yes, in Kansas State. I may have said Josh Johnson.
You did
He was
say
the guy
Josh
that went
Johnson.
to San Diego University that played for Harbaugh in college, who's been on like
a lot of teams.
Every organization that plays professional football on any continent.
It was Freeman who came in. Yeah, it was him. I forgot all about that game.
Josh Freeman.
And I was sick
Ryan
to my
Lindley.
stomach. I almost felt like I was still playing. I was that sick that they lost that game.
They scored 30 points with those two dudes playing quarterback that day. Freeman and Lindley. They beat the Titans 30-24. Now, the Titans did not have a good year that year, but it's like, okay, they're going to beat the Colts.
And he just showed up on a Tuesday.
Yeah.
Freeman did. I remember that.
He didn't know the people's names he was playing with.
So that's why I said you could never look. A young quarterback, you definitely want to get after him a little bit. And I would do it early to get him all sped up.
Yep.
And a little jittery. I got to get rid of the ball. Bro. As soon as he got there, I got this thing hot potato, man. Everybody want this.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. And then after that, I go, all right, let's settle down and now let's play our defense. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Titans defense, by the way, has allowed 34 points on average in the first two games. So they got to batten down the hatches. 34 points. 34 points. Yeah, they're 29th in the league in scoring. They're one of 9 teams allowing over 400 yards per game.
Right, I'm about to ask you a question. Do you know how many points did they average last year after the season? I don't know the answer.
We'll have that answer next.
Oh,
in hour number 2, Blaine and Mickey, 104.5 The Zone.
J. Martin Ramon, still saying it how we wanna.
Clemson's quarterback and trying to figure out how to pronounce it. I've looked it up. So it's Taisun. That's pronounced Tyson. And Phommachanh. So it's Tyson Pumachan. Really? TP. Tyson Pumachan.
All of that just to say Pumachan?
Yep.
Kumite.
Tyson Pumachan.
Pootie-tang.
Tomorrow morning from 6 to 10 on 104.5 The Zone.
Well, a lot of employees really don't want to see you or talk to you, but they know they have to because their paycheck depends upon it, Lucas. You can see it in their expression. It's like you can almost hear them say, here comes another problem, and that's putting it nicely. Ever been treated that way by an auto repair shop? Tired of getting the runaround only to get the runaround again? Well, come on over to Eurofix. Eurofix repairs everything European. And owner Aaron Stokes once said, being ignorant made me successful. And what he meant was, when you don't know any better, no idea what your competition is doing, when you provide the best you can, success will come. And that was in 1999. And over 2 decades later, Eurofix offers a free 15-minute no-wrench evaluation, a free rent-a-car with reservation on every repair, and a free nationwide 3-year, 36,000-mile warranty on all repairs. And you can just drop in with no appointment. And all you have to do is just give them a call at 844-EUROFIX. That's right, 844-EUROFIX Monday through Friday. Or you can just visit them online at myeurofix.com. That's myeurofix.com. But always tell them Blaine said you.
This is Jim Rome with a CBS Sports Minute. Let me start this minute with a very
It's interesting because a bunch of y'all keep trying to get Urban Meyer to that USC job. Like, oh, he's going to quit, take that job. Mark Long was like, hey, man, we did some digging on that. He wouldn't have passed their background check.
I can't believe he said that.
We need to get the audio from it. I know we're just dropping a bombshell
we're
on
going
you.
to retweet that after you post it.
But that was like the first thing that Mark Long said because he covers the Gators and he covers the Jaguars. And I was talking, in our business, a lot of what you do is like what team you cover, what organization you get to cover. Well, we live in Nashville, so we cover the Predators, we cover the Titans, and Nashville SC, a pretty good group of people all around. So you're Mark Long, you're this OG with the Associated Press, and you're like, hey, man, here's your assignment. We've got good news and bad news. All right, I'll take the good news first. I'm a good news guy. All right, you get to cover the Gators. That's pretty good news. They're always good. Like, there's excitement. It's a nice campus. I mean, yeah, okay, yeah. Good deal. Well, okay, what's the bad news? Well, you also have to cover the Jags on Sunday. So your Saturday is going to be fun, full house, SEC electric college atmosphere. On Sunday, though, you're going to come down here and cover the Jags. Good luck with that. So he covers both. But, we led with the Urban Meyer question. I can see Lucas furiously editing in there. But we'll play that for you at some point in this segment. Mark Long giving his thing like, no, actually, no, he was not into running you. Maybe at one time, but no, there's too much in the past there. I did think that was interesting. I never thought he was going to take that job, but as I joked to you, who started the show today about Big Herb was, if I'm him, I'm like, to my agent, we talked about this. You didn't see anything big on the horizon. You let me take this job in Jacksonville. You let me take this job. You didn't know Helton was about to get fired? You didn't know he was one bad loss away? Okay, whatever. I don't think he's
I think his agent didn't take the call.
Yeah.
He's like, Herb is going to move on to something else because he's too busy right now. He's trying to win games at the Jaguars.
Because if you're USC, I saw this. They haven't retained a search firm. And everybody's saying, good, that's wasted money. Here's what the search firm does. And it's not to say that they don't have a consultant helping them. Because everybody always asks me, okay, you worked in the business. Why does anybody get a search firm? Well, if you're a school like Arkansas State, you don't get one because you can't afford it. You just don't get it. Although I'll say this, they had a guy who was an intermediary, and he would make the phone calls. What the search firm does is they can immediately call everybody's agent, and they can go, Lucas is interested, Blaine is not interested, Mickey will listen if you make him a pitch. So that way, before you ever even start messing around, Lucas is interested. Blaine is not interested. Mickey would listen if you gave him a pitch. So like, okay, we'll take Blaine off the list. Okay, Lucas is interested. Maybe for Mickey. He says maybe. They'll do some of that work for you. The other thing they do is, and this is big, they give you plausible deniability because the search firm talks to the coach's agent. So the coach can say, I ain't talked to nobody. And the athletic director can say, I ain't talked to nobody. And nobody's talked to anybody. But, yeah, the search firm talked to everybody.
But can't you say that? Why don't they start asking the coaches, did your agent talk to someone? Your representative talk to someone?
I asked Gus Malzahn that when he was the coach at A-State, and it was rumored he was going to go to Arkansas. And I said, Coach, and Malzahn's my buddy.
Did you or someone else?
I said, Coach Malzahn. And this went everywhere. It was on ESPN. It was everywhere. I said, have you or anyone who represents you talk to the University of Arkansas or anyone who represents the University of Arkansas about their head football coach opening? Because it was after Petrino.
But they can still lie there, too.
You know what he said?
What is that?
I'm the coach of the A-State Red Wolves. Next question. That's what he said. But he didn't want to deny it. He didn't want to lie. Because he's that kind of guy. He didn't want to lie. So he said, I'm the coach of the A-State Red Wolves. What's the next question? He wouldn't say, which was yes. I mean, that was his way of saying, of course, you dummy. Of course my people have talked to their people. Are you crazy?
Shoot,
was an offensive coordinator there. Come on, man.
Yeah, I have no idea who's going to be the head coach of USC. And everybody keeps saying Eric Bieniemy. I heard Eric Bieniemy say, do you know the AD there is the guy who fired me from Colorado?
Well, Schefter reported that's one of the very few jobs that Bieniemy would even be interested in the college.
And that's when he responded to, that's the guy who fired me at Colorado. And I was like, well, are you saying that he wouldn't hire you then? You can get fired. That don't mean you're not a good fit for another job. Might have fired him for something else, like, not paying for his parking tickets.
I mean, you think that dude's on a fast track to be an NFL head coach at some point, right? I mean, he's at the top of almost every
that
list.
track, I don't know, man. That track has been on the track for a long time. That track has been tracking off the track for a long time when a lot of people thought the track was on track to track towards head coaching.
Yeah, that track got some oil put on there, and he slid off the track.
Somebody put a penny on there. They used to tell us that as kids, don't put a penny on the track.
Be too long.
The whole train.
You got to take the opportunity you can to get a head coaching job. It's only 32 of them, so.
Yeah. This is Mark Long, again, joined us. We talked to him most about Gators and Vols, but we led with an Urban Meyer question. Gosh, Betty wishes he had that USC job. And this was his, hold up a minute. This is what Mark Long said.
Yeah, the funny thing is I've talked to people around the country, and I don't think he would be a candidate at USC. They've got a pretty strict background check, and from everybody I talked to, there was thoughts about Urban Meyer earlier at USC, and a lot of people believe he was not going to pass their background check with some of the things that he's been into with talking about players and hiding drug tests and this, that, and the other, and certainly what happened at Ohio State with his receivers coach, all those things. So I don't think he's going back to college. I don't think it'll be USC. I don't think it'll be anything. I think, the question remains, and, again, we're two games into this thing, but you're already asking the questions is, what, is he happy? Is he going to be a one and done? Is he going to see this thing through? How committed to the NFL is he? And a lot of people have concerns about that. Even despite him saying no chance about going to USC, people still wonder, whether or not he stays in Jacksonville and really makes this thing a 4 or 5 year project. I think the overwhelming concern would be that he's a one and done and walks away and either cites health or says this isn't what he wants or thought he was getting into. And it's a pretty big rebuild. There's no doubt about it. It's not going to happen in 1 year, probably not going to happen in 2 years. And a lot of people really, really thinking now that Urban Meyer won't be around to see Jacksonville get this thing somewhat turned around.
He starts with a laugh, and then he ends with, and a lot of people don't think they'll get to see Urban Meyer stick around to see this thing through.
Man, oh, man, I think he holds a lot of stuff in. He is just not used to losing. I'm going to see how long it's going. If it's I think he's going to give it another year.
Yep.
If I was guessing, and he has to see progress, and I mean some, tremendous progress. He's made some mistakes all the way. What I can say, most coaches who have been very successful at every level, they will adjust and quickly as they go along the road. When you can cite Bama,
Yeah,
I mean,
Saban.
Yeah, Saban. I mean, who would ever thought they would be throwing it around the yard? I mean, really? Yeah. He better adapt or you will get left behind.
Yep.
So these elite coaches, and he's one of them, Urban Meyer, you have to give it to him. I think he will adjust even at the NFL level and get to a point where he at least feels like he did a decent job. And then whether that's 8-8 or 8-9 or 9-8 or whatever with 17 games. And then hopefully get to a point where Trevor Lawrence now is turned the corner, and now he's, in that category of where everybody's talking about. He's one of the top, 15 quarterbacks in the league, and they get him a better offensive line. They start, make some plays. So we shall see, though. But he has to know it's going to be a rocky road these first 2 years. Man, if he doesn't see improvement, I don't know. I think he will. I'm right there with Mark Long. I think he'll cite health, and he'll go, bye, I'm out. And take with him a whole boatload of more money.
And we keep saying this, well, he's still a pretty young guy. Well, he's still a pretty young guy. Well, at some point, you're not a pretty young guy anymore. At some point, age goes. Father Time's undefeated. And it's like.
But you can coach forever if you just, if you can handle it.
Without all those health concerns, maybe.
He's made a lot of mistakes, but at least he's fixed them quickly.
Yeah.
I mean, NFL, they'll call you out real quick there.
They will. Coach Matt coached in the NFL a long time. 31 years, I believe, is the number.
Oh,
he is set to join us next.
How many days?
That's right. Now that I don't know. Somebody will do the math on that. Coach Mack up next to talk Titans right here on Blaine and Me.
65 days.
Saturday, it's an SEC doubleheader. First up, LSU and Mississippi State. And then the Vols are in the swamp against the Florida Gators. Coverage starts Saturday morning at 11 on your home for the Vols and SEC football. 104.5 The Zone.
Blaine and Mickey 104.5 The Zone. You know what that music means. It means the one and only Coach Mack is on with us. Coach, how in the world are you doing? And what's that plane flight home, that long, long plane flight from Seattle after a win? I imagine it makes it a whole lot better.
It does. Hi, Mickey. Hey, Blaine. It makes it good. I wish I could tell you what it was like. I slept.
I slept on a few plane flights myself. Blaine and Dyson and me were in the post-game show, and I said, when did you look at this film on the way home, or did you start to look at the next team? And they both looked at me and said, "You think we had that kind of technology when we played?" So they quickly corrected me.
And that's a great question because they have that technology now, and they're able to. They're on long flights like that. Those cross country flights. They're able to look at film on the way out, and then with the coaches, and then clearly the coaches start working on the film on the way back because they know they're going to get back early in the morning on Monday. So you can't ever be behind. So the technology nowadays is amazing.
How much, Coach, do you look at what you just did once the game's over on Sunday? Is it a film review one time with the whole team? Do you look at it some on the way back? How much do you look back at the previous game?
Well, you do. First of all, you break it down as coaches, and then you meet, and then you go over your grades, individual. You go over your grades in groups, the defensive staff, the offensive staff, the special teams, and then you come in with the head coach and go over your grades with the head coach. And then you break down, defensively and offensively, and the defensive coordinator may have everybody together and show a few clips of some things that that you want to get squared away. Then you break off into your individual room, so the coaches see it a minimum of 3 times.
Good stuff, Coach Mack. Coach Dave McGinnis. Brought to you as always by Farm Bureau Health Plans. If you need great health care coverage and affordable price, let Farm Bureau Health Plans coach you through it. They got you covered. Just like we get covered with the Mac Attack every Tuesday on Blaine and Mickey.
No doubt, Coach Mack. I'm wondering, have you ever seen a game, the last 2 games, so much of a swing of how they played in one game and then the next game, you could call it a half, they look like world beaters. And the Titans, they just look like a different team and came out there with a different mindset.
Yeah, Blaine, in my 30 years of coaching in the National Football League, yes, I have experienced that. And still, to this day, if somebody would ask me why, I've got no explanation. But I've seen I've had teams play in games before where it got away from us early and we couldn't do anything right. Seemed like we were on our left foot all day. And then, the next game, just be able to persevere through whatever happened and win the ball game. The thing, and this, Blaine, and our listeners are sophisticated listeners, and they understand. We had a whole plane full of really great Titans fans go out there. And here's what I'm trying to say is this league is so close. It is so close. And regardless of what, people want to say and look at teams and say, and this team should be favored and this team's not good. Look, anytime you play on Sunday, Monday, or Thursday in the National Football League, everybody has a chance because everybody has good coaches and good players, and a lot of it depends on the matchups of the day and who's the healthiest at what position. So has it happened to me before? Absolutely it has.
Hey, we're on with Coach Mack giving us the Mack Attack. Was Seattle as loud as advertised?
Okay, come on, Blaine. Look, they had, and again, as I said, I've been there. Of course, in the NFC West, when I went in there with Jeff Fisher to take over the Rams, we took over a team that had been 15-65 the previous 5 years. They were terrible, and we knew that if we're going to compete in the NFC West, we had to build a team to be able to beat Seattle. They were the top dog, and so the 9 games that I coached, against them, because the 10th game after they let Fish go when the front office took over the team, I don't count that one. We were 5-4, so we always found a way and had to devise ways to beat those people. But when you go up there to play, now I've been in a lot of stadiums around the country, both collegiately and in the National Football League, and that place is different. And especially this time because they hadn't had fans in there for over a year. Look, they had a concert before the game with everybody in the stands. They brought Macklemore out, and he was doing his thing. They brought the UW band, and they were dancing to Macklemore. It was a concert, before the game, and that crowd was juiced. They were fired up, and it's the loudest outdoor venue in the league, bar none.
Mm-hmm. Well, besides the superstars, Coach, Tannehill, the King, and everybody else's superstars, who stood out that you think, like, I think we may be on to something. He's starting to play up to the level that we thought he would.
Yeah, when I watch a game, I'm watching units, but I think the last 2 weeks, Christian Fulton's really acquitted himself very well out there at the corner. I mean, we talked about earlier during training camps about how he looked stronger and he looked more like, physically an NFL corner, and he's playing like that right now. So, I thought he did very well. Now, I mean, he had some things that he's got to clean up. I mean, we had a complete bust back there. He may have been involved with it, or he may not have. I don't grade players anymore because I did that for 30 years, extensively. I don't know exactly what the call was, but I know that wasn't the call. That's not what they planned, for Swain to be running down there wide open. And so, but I like what he's been doing. He's been pretty consistent since training camp.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Coach, I got to give you one more, and that is the refereeing. And I'm not real big on talking about
Blaine,
the refereeing.
Oh, you
But,
get
man, I hear you, calling the game, and I'm like, man, I wonder what Coach Mack would have been like, because your get-back coach would have been really active in this game, I would imagine.
Yeah, my get-back coach would have had me around the throat. Because here's the thing. And, again, as first of all, spotting the ball, that third down, that was awful. Okay, that was bad. Julio Jones scored a touchdown. All right, I mean that was very evident. Also, they did get the call right on the one where they called him short of the goal line. Before Derrick Henry walked in on. They got that call right. I don't know what to make of the taunting rule. I do know this: if they're going to emphasize it, there's already been 11 taunting calls so far in 2 weeks in the National Football League. So if I were a player and I even thought about looking at somebody cross-eyed, I wouldn't.
Right. Yeah. No penalties for sure. We're on with Coach Mack giving us the Mack attack. One more question, I guess, on that note.
Yeah.
What do you think they can do a better job of the National Football League? They've come up with all these different ideas to help improve refereeing. It's a tough job. But what do you got any ideas what maybe they could do to improve the refereeing?
No, but I do know this. It's never been as smooth, and it's never been as synergistic. In other words, put together as it was when Mike Pereira was there. They changed head officials. It's never been the same. And plus now, Blaine, to your point, they got two different people now doing the replay. Yeah. All right. They got two completely, and one of them's not a former official. One of them's a former coach, Perry Fuel. And so that, to me, I think the inconsistency in the coaching office and the way it's the inconsistency in the leadership, I think, has made a big difference. I mean, I just know how good it was when Mike Pereira was there, and so I'm not in. Look, I study officials. I study crews. I study a lot of things. So does Mike Keith, as far as knowing who calls what. When I was coaching, I would study crews to know, be able to tell my team, this team is a little bit liberal on defensive pass interference down the field. This team will call you for just barely touching them, so keep your hands in. This team calls very little offensive holding, especially on play action passes or runs to the edges. This crew right here calls, it very liberally. And so all of those things I used to study. I don't, I look at them. Mike Keith always gives us their stats, for the week prior, and then keeps up with it, throughout the year. But I've never been an official. It is an extremely hard job, but I just know how much more together it was, when I was coaching and Mike Pereira was in charge.
Well, with Coach Mack giving us the Mack attack.
Coach, the first play that you named was that third down play where Carson reached the ball out and was near the out of bounds line and was essentially a full yard short. It wasn't even close. They hurried up and they ran another play, and we were discussing this in post game and what could Vrabel have done. The guy tweeted us and said, "Well, it's where the ball is spotted, so you can't." They said he couldn't challenge, I guess, the spot of the ball, and the Seahawks moved quickly. My thing was this: even if you wanted to save your timeouts, that's up to Mike Vrabel or not. I'm asking you this from a procedural standpoint. Could he have called timeout, though? Just take a timeout right there before Seattle runs another play. And in that time, maybe the officials on their own say, that was pretty close. We should take a look. Could something like that have even happened?
No, they're not ever going to look at it on their own.
Okay.
Unless you challenge it. And here's the other thing too. Unless it's egregious, which, Titans, I'm a Titans. Titan fans, everybody's going to think, it was egregious. But unless it's egregious, you're getting a spot call. The best chance you have is on the sideline, but it has to be, clear and evident. It's clear and evident to everybody wearing two-tone blue, but it may not have been clear and evident to the people back in New York. As I just said, you got two different people doing it now. So, yeah, I would not have wasted a challenge on it, and definitely not wasted a timeout.
After the big play, the 68-yard touchdown with the busted coverage, the Titans, basically the Seahawks went 3 and out. They ran 4 plays before the game ended and didn't have anything going there. Then they had the ball 3 plays in overtime, and really it should have ended with a safety. What did the defense do down the stretch, besides not give up big plays? What did they do down the stretch that literally was 3 and out, 4 and done, 3 and out?
Well, first of all, let me thank you for reminding me it was a safety too.
That was a safety in any world that we live in.
Well, yeah, and by the way, it was a safety. I mean, you heard me on the call. I said safety.
Yes.
So, we were right next to the Titans coaches, and I did my hands in the safety sign to them. Anyway, again, talking about officials, that's another one. But to me, look, they during that ball game, I played Russell Wilson, as I said, 9 times as a coach, and then 1 time, as an observer up there, when I was at that last game, without Fish there. And so the thing about him is, at any point, I mean, he's going to explode. And so you've always got to be, and he's going to make some plays. The thing that can't happen to you defensively, and you're talking to a guy that was the defensive star in this league sitting right there next to you in the secondary, if an explosive play happens to you, you cannot get discombobbled by it. You got to go get it fixed on the sideline. What happened? But you can't let it take your confidence away. I thought they played with great confidence in the fourth quarter, and I think that's a big plus. And I think it's major kudos to that staff and those players in that environment, going in down like they did halftime, and then coming out and fighting all the way through it. The basic thing they didn't do much different, but they didn't get all discombobulated if something bad happened to them, Mickey, and that to me was the biggest thing.
It was a big moment for David Long. He was actually out there with a green dot because Jayon couldn't play, and David was a guy who we'd seen really come on at the end of his rookie year, and then maybe his play was a little quieter last year. He had such a great pedigree in college, and he goes from sideline to sideline so well. It's neat to see David Long take advantage of his opportunities, Coach, because he's a fella that seems like he could be on this team for a long time making plays.
Well, I'm just all for that guy because, vetting him coming out of West Virginia, and he had to learn a lot about playing the second level as far as guard ball triangle reads and discerning coverage and everything, because he was a rush guy. Basically, there in West Virginia. They were blitzing him and running him everywhere, and if I'd have been in West Virginia, I'd have done the same thing because he made every tackle on the field when you watched it. He was a defensive player of the year. In that conference. And so, I'm really proud of him. And here's the other thing that impressed me about it. The moment wasn't too big for him. The moment wasn't too big for him. And putting that green dot on in that environment, as loud as it was, and being able to get, everybody set and get everybody on the same page. And you could see a lot of communication going on out there manually because verbally you can't hear anything out there. I was very impressed with David Long. I've been impressed with him since he's been here because guess what? He's a football player. He's got a great GPS to the ball, and that's a plus for a defensive player.
Absolutely. Coach Mack's got a GPS for this show every Tuesday, and he's on with us right now on Blaine and Mickey.
Always, Coach. There was a lot of different moments, ebbs and flows in this game, but where do you see the turning point where you felt like now this is Titans' ball game to lose? Do you see any point?
They kept answering bad plays in the second half. You know what I'm saying? They didn't come out. They did not come out, Blaine, in my opinion, and play like they were behind. They just kept pounding. And the thing that it impressed me that's important, and this team has been successful ever since we've had that big running back, of whether the run game is really good or not, if the score's not separated by more than 2 scores, keep pounding that guy, because people get tired of that. I mean, they get tired of it, and you saw it. And plus, he just keeps getting stronger. So to me, the fact that they were able to stay with that, and then I think one of the big things that I really liked was Ryan Tannehill was very, very accurate. A.J. Brown uncharacteristically had drops. I think he's trying to run with it before he catches it. But Julio Jones stepped up and was Julio Jones. But Michael Pruitt was outstanding in that thing. And the other thing was impressive. When they're playing that cover 3 match, now we'll start talking some ball, and they're going to drop off like they do in that cover 3 match, dump it down to your backs over the middle. And that was a big part of that game in the second half.
Well, take us behind the curtains, Coach, and like when you were coaching and what the film room is like, because everybody think it's all hunky-dory, especially when you get a win. But, man, there were a lot of correctable points in this. And I usually walk away from the film room after a game like this and be like, oh, yeah, we won, yeah. You go to the film next day and go, oh, man, damn, we got to get better, man. We got a lot to do. We got a lot to get better at if we want to win.
Yeah, especially early in the year, you have to. I mean, it has to. Here's what it has to be, Blaine, and you know this, and this is it has to be the truth. You have to tell the truth, because you won, and that's what everybody is euphoric about. And that's the bottom line in this league, is winning. But if you want to move forward and improve and give yourself a better chance to win in upcoming games, you've got to correct what went wrong, because guess who's going to try to exploit those things they see on the film that gave you problems? Your next opponent. And your opponents after that. These films stay in the flow in perpetuity. I mean, they stay in the flow forever. So you've got to get that corrected, and it's got to be a very honest. The National Football League, you can attest to this, and I can attest to this too in 30 years of coaching. That breakdown and those meetings after a ball game, they're all about the truth. There is no sugarcoating anything in there, good or bad. You can praise the good plays, but you better correct the bad plays.
Ooh, yeah, I felt like a little ant on the wall my rookie year. I was like, oh my gosh, please don't say my name. Yeah, but anyway, now we play a team that's 0-2. The Colts, maybe the best 0-2 team. I've watched them a little bit, especially their first game versus the Seahawks, and I thought, Wentz was playing, pretty decent. I mean, he wasn't horrible. He was solid. Made some boneheaded plays this last game as far as just trying too hard, but a lot of quarterbacks do that. I just watched Aaron Rodgers, the best, to do the same thing. But kind of take us through your approach and how you would prepare and think about preparing for a young quarterback going into this game, because I don't want our fan base to think, oh, he has no starts, we're going to kill them. No, it's a Colts in their division opponent, and they beat us with guys we never even heard of or they picked up off the street, 3 days before the game.
No, this is a dangerous team. Dangerous team. First of all, it's a division game. They're 0-2. They've got the same type of mindset, in my humble opinion, that the Titans had when they got on that plane to go to Seattle. Okay? I mean, this is what this game is to them, being 0-2. And they played very well in those 2 ball games. They lose Wentz in the fourth quarter last week, but up until that time, I mean, they're inside the 5 twice and don't come away with touchdowns. So, look, they're a good football team, and offensively and defensively, they're going to run the football. I mean, they've got Taylor and Mack. They've got 2 guys that can run the ball, and their offensive line has been hurt just like ours have. But still, you saw what the Titans were able to do with a piece together offensive line. I mean, the guys that were in there, they're playing. Much kudos to them. They made it work, and they'll figure out how to do it too. And so this is a big game. This is a dangerous game. It's a very dangerous game. Both teams. Once you get into division play, I'm not saying anything that's a revelation to anybody, but the division play is different. And I just know the mindset that they're going to come in here with, and it's going to be a fight. And you've got to be able to be on point with what's going on. Defensively, I mean, they got erasers at 2 levels. Buckner and Leonard, those guys are erasers on defense. They are difference makers. And so, guys, this is going to be a ball game.
Coach, every time you laugh on the broadcast, I always say an angel gets its wings. And as the team started to pull away, or not pull away, but started to change the way they played and started to come back, and then just to hear you laugh in the background behind Mike yelling these amazing things that he says, his voice goes up, and then you're just laughing. Every time you laugh, an angel gets its wings, Coach. I just want you to know that. Keep giving those angel wings away, man. It's the best.
Well, that's very kind of you. And I don't want to say anything because I don't ever want to talk over Mike Keith. He's brilliant in what he does. He's a wordsmith up there, and he's into the moment. But I can't help it because when I look at it and see, and especially, I really start laughing when Derrick Henry starts eating stripes out in the open field. Because first of all, they have no idea how fast he is, and I don't know why they don't because it's been on film now for quite a while.
Lots of tape on him, yeah.
Yeah, and second of all, dudes start to approach him a little bit like a dog does a tire on a moving car. They're not sure they want to bite that thing.
Oh, if people aren't turning down the TV volume and listening to you guys, they're doing it wrong. Coach, we love talking to you every week. Love hearing you on Sundays. Love hearing Mac talk, and people can hear that tonight. And just keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah, thanks, Mickey. Yeah, we've got Mac Talk tonight. Rhett and I, we're bringing Amy Wells in studio with us live tonight. She's going to give a little preview of the Titans Amy Coach Mac podcast, new podcast that is dropping this week. And so we look forward to all the phone calls, all the Twitter questions. I really look forward to Mac Talk on Tuesday nights after game with fans. It's great.
Us too, Coach. We'll be listening tonight. Thank you, sir.
Appreciate it, Coach.
See you guys. Thanks.
One and only Coach Mack. All right, when we come back, our director of content, Blaine Bishop, want to start doing something on Tuesdays, giving away a Titans game balls. Yeah. So we asked the question earlier. Some of you responded to @Blaine and Mickey on Twitter. You can do that if you're in Zone TV chat. Respond right now. Offense, defense, special teams. Who are you giving your Titans game balls to for the performance on Sunday? We'll share that next. Blaine and Mickey, 104.5 The Zone.
Coming up tomorrow with Buck Rising.
Our Wednesday tradition, the dumbest thing in sports. There's a lot of good material to choose from, and I know you guys will bring it strong. Plus, new expecting father, Will Compton of Bussin' with the Boys, will join us. We'll talk about the win over the Seahawks and what's happening with his Bussin' with the Boys co-host, Taylor Lewan.
The Buck Rising Show, tomorrow, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. on 104.5 The Zone.
question. Lucas is our linguist. I really don't do anything to get us in and out of commercial breaks. Lucas is our linguist. I've been meaning to ask. I'm just. Let me say this now, Lucas. Can you? Okay, I can see. I'm looking through 6 walls of glass at Lucas.
This is Lucas' lunchtime, man.
He's a busy man. Lucas is the hardest working man in show business. There's a song by Chicago called "Saturday in the Park." Have you ever heard that song? Probably not.
No.
Okay, of course you haven't. In the song, there's a lyric that's in Italian. Ooh. And the guy, Robert Lamb, who's still in Chicago today, Chicago had hit songs in 4 decades. I don't know. I mean, they're just ridiculously talented, whether or not you remember them or know them or not. But just Google them today, kids. He says, a man selling ice cream, singing Italian songs. And then the guy says something in Italian. I need us to play that on the air, maybe tomorrow. And I want you to say what he says. Can you do that as the show linguist?
Okay, I'll plan for that.
I've been hearing this song my whole life, and I want to sing along to that part, but I don't even know what if he's saying like Mickey is stupid, and I would be singing that, and I don't want to.
Can't rule that out.
They're 100%. Like I was a young person when this came out. All right, tomorrow maybe you could do your linguist skills.
Saturday in the Park.
Saturday in the Park by Chicago. It's one of their biggest songs, and dude, 4 decades hits, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. The band had hits in 4 decades. I'm not making this up. That's how the staying power of this band has been. There's still some original guys from the original band from the 60s. So maybe tomorrow we can have a little rock and roll trivia.
Okay. I will set myself a reminder.
Okay. I'll set myself one too. Also, game ball. So we're going to do this on Tuesday. I knew we'd have some time in the last segment. I wanted to ask, what do you think? Got some responses on Blaine and Mickey Twitter. Jordan Estrada says, on offense, King Henry. On defense, he did the lock symbol and the down. He said Fulton. And he said Randy, the kicker. He called him a name, but I'm not going to say what he called. It has something to do with Randy's weight. Michael DeJesus says, on defense, it's Fulton. He looked great out there. Offense, it has to go to the offensive line. And we're fine with you we'll split that 5 ways for the O-line. He said, yeah, Henry went off, but they stepped up after Lewan and Saffold weren't in the game. Special teams goes to Titans legend. He says Randy Bullock. Lynn was very brief. He said Henry, Fulton, Bullock. So Bullock's all around, not Keith, but Randy. Yeah. A lot of people liking what they've seen from Chris Fulton. Heck, I like what I've seen from Christian Fulton.
I said that after the first game, and he's trying to continue that. Yeah, against a big-time receiver. So that brings more notches, but to his belt. But he's not intimidated. He played in the SEC, so he's played against these guys before. So he understands their approach. I think, usually you get in your second year as a defensive back, you realize you're not just playing on your talent. You're also playing with your brain, and that means understanding how they want to attack you and what they like to do, and then how do you think that's going to fit into what the approach is for your defensive scheme, and then how can you then mix that in to be able to make plays. And so he's kind of put that all together. You can see it coming together for him. And that's really a lot. You can't play on talent. The guys are too good. Yep. You can't just, I'm not going to watch film. A lot of these guys in college didn't even watch film. So, first of all, they have to learn how to watch film. Let's start there. All right. So, guess what I did as a rookie? I'm going to go in there and sit with these vets, see what they looking at, and see what they talking about. So, I then can learn, take notes, figure out what I need to know, because I'm going to be on the field pretty quick.
Mm-hmm.
I want to be out there. I'm tired of running down a special team running like I'm running through a brick wall. Special teams really hurts, man. It does. Playing offensive defense is way easier than special teams. That's how I would say it. And they'd be like, what? No. You got to run down there. Your life depends on it. Your life, your family, everything. And probably about 10 plays, 15 plays.
That's like Nick DeZubnar and those type of guys, Darren Bates. Whole career special teams.
Yeah, I think they may have some video of me getting flipped up and all over these wedge busters and all that stuff, man. I was getting creamed. Oh my gosh.
And you can't do things now that they could do when you played. That's a whole wedge of people that you had to try to just throw yourself through like a Red Rover line, only in pads.
After I did that a couple times, I said, I don't think I'm doing that no more.
Yeah, I'm going to study more film. I'm going to start.
Yeah, I'm going to start slithering and going through their legs or something.
Oh, give them the Home Alone on the ice. All right, my game ball, because we got to get out of here so 3HL can get this thing going next. I went Bullock. He went 4 of 5 on field goals, including the game winner, 3 of 3 on extra points, mainly because he kept himself off kicker island for another week. Yeah. Haven't signed another kicker, so Randy Bullock will remain here. It looks like, well, knock on wood. Danico Autry, I went with him as my defensive MVP. He was just real active. We could have picked a bunch of different guys. Long, Fulton. We've talked a whole lot about Landry.
Landry.
I mean, a bunch of guys, and I know they gave up a lot of points. And Michael Pruitt, career high snap count, 3 catches on 43 targets. He had the same receiving stats as A.J. Brown, and he got everybody fired the heck up.
Ooh, I like that pick. I think I'm gonna go. I'm just go offense because he pretty much hit it. Bullock's definitely gonna be special team.